We've really had some great discussion here to get us going, and we are getting questions that are coming in via email and by the phone. So at this point, we're going to turn to some of the questions that have been coming into us. And monitoring the phone and email questions for us today is Carol Barone. Carol's Vice President for Teaching and Learning at EDUCAUSE. Carol, what are some of the questions coming in for this panel today?
Well, here's a good one. What skills might be demanded of students in creating these portfolios?
Anybody care to start with that one?
None.
I would agree with that.
We've tried to make portfolios so that students don't really have to understand technology. If they can shop through Amazon, they can create a portfolio.
Does that also apply to faculty?
Maybe not, but you know, when students are creating materials for a portfolio, the tools that they need, word processing, spreadsheets, graphics, working with images, they're doing anyway. And when they're ready to use video, video becomes a part of that. So I don't see that the e-portfolio projects as demanding new technical skills. Those skills are already part of the culture right now, and the e-portfolio provides a way to bring those together in interesting fashions.
Okay. Another question, Carol.
What are some of the technical implications of collecting all of this student and discussion online?
Technical implications? You each have to deal different technologies. There's not a standard e-portfolio I can go get someplace, is there? How do you manage the technology side and the implications again? The longevity, 5 years. Gary, let's start with you.
Well, we assume that disk space is cheap. And everything is being managed out of a database, and the problem of handling all of this stuff, I think, is a good problem. And if we look ahead towards more and more wireless technology, whether that's laptops or PDAs, people's stuff is going to have to be available on the network anyway. I think that the maybe more interesting issue is you don't just have these documents, but you have the evolution of the documents. You have comments and reflections. And this is an incredible wealth of intellectual capital, opportunities to look into the learning process. And I don't think we started to think about the tools that we might need to go in and look at that part of what we're accumulating in e-portfolios.
I know when I go back and look at stuff that I wrote 6 weeks ago, let alone 5 years ago, and once in a while even 10 years ago, I'm a little older, sometimes I have this kind of shock, you know, whether I really did that or could I have been so bright or so foolish. You've had a 5-year project at Stanford. You've had some longevity experience with this as well. What happens when students and faculty go back? Helen, I mean, what do they have that kind of sense of shock or epiphany? I was that smart, I was that foolish, I was that naive?
I think they do, and I think part of the e-portfolio project and the reflective aspect is providing students with an incentive to go back and look, and that's what reflection is all about, is, you know, taking that experience and transforming it into learning by looking at it from different perspectives.
Gary?
The Collaboratory is an open community, so we actually expect and encourage people to look at everything that everyone else is doing and also steal from everyone else. And so something that someone may have done a year or two ago can stimulate some new idea, some process that students went to could stimulate a new approach for a teacher, and that's purposeful. We don't expect these things to be in closets.
Okay, great. We're going to have one more question we'd like to hear. Carol, if you would.
Okay. How long do you predict before the use of e-portfolios will become pervasive?
Good question. All right. Best guess. I mean, how far before it goes from Northwestern or Washington to Stanford that 50% of undergraduates are using portfolios? Let's put a hard metric on it.
I don't know.
And we're going to hold you to this because this is going to be part of a portfolio.
Within my own university, within 3 years, almost every student will have used a portfolio, and we hope that, given its organic nature, that they can continue to add to it, apart from any interaction with faculty or advisors, that the student-driven use will ramp up to nearly
3 years
90%.
at Washington. We're going to come back. Helen, at Stanford?
I think the metaphor of a portfolio has really resonated with a lot of people, and we're really starting to see it just emerge. So I would say within maybe the next 5 years.
5 years for all undergraduates at Stanford or well beyond Stanford?
Probably maybe just right now just focusing on Stanford.
And Gary?
I guess I'm more optimistic. I would say by a year from this fall, we have this academic year and next academic year, that e-portfolios are going to be very pervasive. Like Helen said, this resonates. Everyone has different ideas about what an e-portfolio is, and we're going to see lots of different incarnations of it very quickly.
Lots of different ones.
Yep.
Okay, well, great. I think we're off to a great start for the first part of our program today. My thanks to our panelists for this segment, Helen Chen, Tom Lewis, and Gary Greenberg. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to the practical implications of electronic portfolios, and we'll see more examples of e-portfolio tools. We'll be back in a few moments.